Moneyball is my favorite sports movie ever because this movie talks about an underdog who takes on against an entire organization, the entire establishment of baseball. So, in this episode of Spoiler Alert, film companions Rahul Desai and I talk about both of our favorite film Moneyball, and Rahul actually shares his personal love for the film and why this film impacted his life very much. So do check it out this episode. Hi Rahul, welcome to Spoiler Alert with me, Cinephile Sanket. Today we are discussing your favorite film, Moneyball, which is directed by Bennett Miller and starring Brad Pitt, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and others. Just wanted to just wanted to let everyone know that what is this film about. It's about Billy Bean, which who is played by Brad Pitt, who is the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, which is a major league baseball team. And after losing, like eliminating, got themselves eliminated out of the 2001 World Series, the National American League series. Uh, they try a different approach about hiring and scouting the players, and that's actually about it, like not going the old school way but like trying something new, uh, which is an underdog story. Rahul, I wanted to ask you, what was your experience like watching this film?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's also one of your favorite films, as I think you mentioned earlier. And I think it's a fair amount of people I've spoken to over the years. It's the kind of film that has become sort of a very that has garnered a cult following since 2011, since it came out. I remember watching it. If I'm not mistaken, I think I watched it at Mame. It was the opening film of 2011, I think, which was a long time ago. I think it was 10 years ago. And I remember watching it with a bunch of friends and somehow managing to sneak tickets to the opening film back then. So because back then, honestly, like I wasn't even like a reviewer or anything. So it was just me being a cinephile, just wanting to catch the film. And I remember after watching the film, I watched it with a couple of like friends of mine who were filmmakers, reviewers, and they, a lot of them, just the reaction was pretty similar, that it's as perfect a script as they've seen in their lives and as perfect a film as they can imagine. What's interesting is like none of them called it a sports film, which is actually a great thing, because that's so much of the conceit of Moneyball. So much of the beauty of Moneyball is about the fact that I think a lot of people just don't have to be baseball or sports fans, or don't have to be have any kind of knowledge about athletics or any kind of passion about sports to actually follow what the film is about, or to know to actually like the film. Because for me, it's in a very fundamental sense, it's about actually sort of subverting the system, and that pretty much is a universal story, especially these days, especially with the way sports operates these days, with the amount of money that's thrown around, be it football teams or IPL teams, or whatever it is. We've seen the absolutely obscene amounts of money thrown around by by team owners to buy players and to form champions teams most of the time. So just to see something like that, because for me it worked on two levels, which we'll get into, I think, during this conversation. And I think I'd written about it, I think a year or two ago, in one of my columns too, and that's what stands out in Moneyball for me. But officially, it was one of my favorite Brad Pitt performances. It has been over a period of time. It has been. It was the first time I really liked Brad Pitt in a film, because before that I wasn't a big fan of him. I just thought he was a pretty boy, like a lot of other people did think. Then I had only liked him in Troy, but again, he was a superstar playing himself, even in that film, and in even in Fight Club. But this film really took made me take him seriously as an actor too. I think it was one of the finest performances I have seen in general in Hollywood in that last decade that went by. And of course, we know about Jonah Hill playing Peter Brand, who's actually kind of what the film really is about. But before we get into that, you can talk about your experience first.
My experience was just great, and I would say to you that this was my like 10 plus time watching this film. Like just before this conversation, I just like wanted to prepare for this conversation. I wanted to watch that film again, and I watched this film back in, I think, 2016 or 17. And obviously, since not being a baseball fan, I didn't connect it through like all those baseball fans
Hmm.
would. But yeah, but actually this film is the main reason why I'm currently following baseball, and not like because of the underdog story. Like I just today, actually, I when I watched this film, I noticed that it was a perfect character arc, like character story for Brad Pitt's character. Like obviously we know him that he was the general manager of the Oakland Athletes, and like what happened after that. But like fair amount of time was given to his backstory as well, and obviously to complete why he became the general manager of this like this team. Like obviously, since he was not a good athlete back then, and because of that he decided to uh, be a scout and then eventually a general manager. So that actually story, that was actually the reason which kept me invested in his character. And obviously the underdog story is like kind of a ultimate thing for me. So even also I like the casting also of the young Billy. I don't know who played
Yeah,
that character, but like it was very similar looking with Brad Pitt.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was just awesome for me. So actually, I wanted to ask you, like you said that it was a multi-layered film. Like how
Yeah.
was it for like for
So,
you?
I mean, so look, there's a duality we are talking about in the films. Look, on one side, we are saying that it's actually an underdog story on a very fundamental level, because it's basically an unfancied team that does not have a lot of money. Their budget is sort of shoestring compared to a lot of the bigger teams, like the Boston Red Sox and the other big teams in the league. And so here's a small team actually challenging the status quo, trying to change the way the entire league operates, trying to change the way baseball is played in a way, or baseball, or the way teams are sort of formed in the way. Like we saw something like this, we've seen something like this happen over the years across different sports too. It could have happened with the Oakland A's here. It happened with the Rajasthan Royals in the IPL at the beginning of the IPL. It happens with Leicester City in the EPL. You see teams like this always challenge the status quo, always challenge the big money teams and change the way people think about the sport and the way teams can be chosen. So what they did on that level, it's a very basic underdog story that we are talking about. It's the David versus the Goliaths of the league. But on another level, if you think about it, the romanticism of sport is such, like whether it be baseball, football, uh, uh, you, it's always a team or a person or a character that comes up with, like, say, an analytical approach to sport, like the way they use sabermetrics in this particular film, the way Peter Brand got his very unbaseball like managerial statistical knowledge and change the way teams are, like a very dry cut way. It actually kills the romanticism of the sport. So in another film, they would have been the villains of the film, because they are using a very number crunching way to sort of find their way into a sport, and to sort of figure how to keep the Oakland A's from sinking. So which is why it's so interesting, because they are villains of another film and they are underdogs of this film, and both of them somehow combine to make such a riveting, engaging, sort of very intellectually rewarding experience even as a viewer. Because if you look at Billy Bean and Peter Brand and take them and put them in put them in most sports films that we've seen over the years, they would normally be the Russians or the East Europeans or the South Koreans or the they are always the cold, calculated, sort of very ruthless approach towards sports that they're taking. And that is what I found so beautiful about this film, because Billy Bean actually represents the old school way of thinking. He is the romantic in the film, and Peter Brand is the the Yale graduate and the whiz kid, the numbers whiz kid. And normally in every film we see the old school sort of view winning over the new this thing, but here both of them sort of join forces to give rise to another way of thinking and making the romantic way of playing the game. That is the way that is unfortunately always equated with money can buy greatness or money can buy quality. They challenge that way of thinking, which I thought was again very beautifully done. And the heroes of most sports films are actually the villains here. The Boston Red Sox or the most other teams in the league that can actually afford to put out a good team are actually the villains of this league, because they are most of the time they spend obviously mocking the Oakland A's, and they go on a losing streak at the beginning, and then they win 20 straight, which of course we will get to that. I think it's one of the finest sports montage made on film. The streak that they call it. But yeah, that's what I meant about how this film operates on so many different layers, because you have the old and the young, you have the underdog and the rich, ruthless capitalists, and you have the numbers people and the romantics. So there's so many ways to look at this film, and on every possible sort of level, it really hits home.
Oh wow! Actually, I didn't even think about like what you just said, like the capitalist and the romantist. I just can't believe it. But for me, the screenplay was very tight. Actually, like I just noticed this. I actually used to watch this film in bits and pieces, but for today, I watched the film as a whole. And what I noticed was how beautifully the screenplay was written by Aaron Sorkin, because just when just when Billy Bean and his coach made an offer to Scott Hatterberg. I don't know
Oh
which
yeah,
actor
yeah,
played
Scotty.
it.
He's the Marvel guy, right?
Marvel guy, yeah, just
Yeah,
forgetting it, but yeah,
Chris Pratt. Yeah,
Chris Pratt, yeah, Chris Pratt. So
yeah,
when they are making the offer to Chris Pratt, and when Chris Pratt actually asks him that, do you have a daughter, or like, do you have a child or not? And at that, like the just next scene was his personal life getting started, and
yeah.
I was like, oh wow, such a brilliantly and smartly they introduced the personal life of Billy Bean, and it was just great. And also,
Mm.
as I said that, like, this film I watched, I watched it very I
An island
repeatedly
of
watched
misfit
it
toys.
because
You want
of the
your first
fact that
race.
I
I
don't
won't ever play
know
it here.
what baseball is,
It's
and
not that hard to
obviously
not
I
tell me what
invested
it
in the
is.
character. But the
You
thing
can't
is,
throw, but what can
I
you
like
do?
these this is the
You want to
film
sleep? Then I'm putting you down.
which
You get some
joins in the
rest
ranks
here.
of, like, let's just say, for me, Interstellar and The Big Short, all those kind of films recount as well, because like those are kind of films which I don't get it, like I don't understand what the actual core concept is. That's the reason I watch them. But like I just liked it. But I also wanted to ask you, this your best Bennett Miller film?
Yeah, it's my favorite Ben Miller film. Even though he's a remarkable filmmaker, and I've pretty much seen all his films, but this is the one I keep going back to. This is the one I can watch again and again, and yeah, it has had like a lasting effect on the way I look at sports films, the way what I expect from films in general, what I expect from underdog arcs. Even you mentioned the Scotty scene where they go to hire him at his house. When he's out of favor with most teams because he's injured, and they hire him in a position that is completely different to what he's supposed to be in. Again, see, that's such a beautifully written and acted scene. I keep watching it again and again whenever I can. And the best part about Moneyball is that the specifics really don't matter, because in a way, the way they actually convert like a very specific technical sport like baseball into a very general palette, where a lot of us who had no idea about baseball and still have no idea about baseball can easily follow it and can easily sort of get immersed in it. That's why it belongs very rightly, as you said, in the bracket of films like Big Shot and Interstellar, because Interstellar is talking about certain science fiction that not a lot of people can catch on to, but it's the human aspect of the story that people catch on to. That it's actually uh, there's so much more to it than the specifics, than the technicalities. And it's the same with Big Shot. Big Shot, in fact, was almost like a satire of these specific technical things that we and it did such a good job of conveying it in such a sexy manner while being very self-aware about it. So I think Moneyball is excellent in that sense. Whether you're a cricket fan or a football fan, I think you can still sort of very easily follow the entire mentor-protege relationship of Billy Bean and Peter Brand, and at the same time see what they are trying to do. Because if you look at Billy Bean in the beginning of the film, he's washed out, and he's also like followed a certain system in baseball. He's a system man, and given that he was a failure as an athlete himself, there's obviously a certain level of tiredness and wariness about him at the beginning of the film. But by the end of the film, he's a completely different person. And that whole young and old, the way the new blood sort of rescues the old traditional setup, I think is again very well done. And it's just one of those, it's like a feeling. There are so many great shots and great scenes and moments in the film that I can just recall from memory without having to watch them to really talk about them. Which is one of those things, like the daughter song in the end, I keep listening to every now and then. And it's one of those things that after a while you forget that Brad Pitt was actually the actor playing Billy Bean. You forget forget that Philip Seymour Hoffman was actually there in a role in the film. Even though he had such a bit role, he still made such an impact, and he was actually playing technically a negative character in this film. So if you look at it, like, there are so many elements that have come together to make the experience very watchable. And of course, Aaron Sorkin, as you mentioned, has adapted the script and so well at it. It's a very un-Aaron Sorkin-like script if you think about it. There are actually a lot of reflective moments, introspective moments, and silences in the film, which is really unlike Aaron Sorkin, what he is actually known for, because his characters speak at 180 words a minute almost. And here you have someone like Billy Bean who doesn't speak much. You have Peter Brand who deals in numbers. And you have this very platonic relationship between the two. So again, I felt it was out of character for the filmmakers too, as well as Brad Pitt, which is, I guess, what worked in the end.
True that. Like, even for me, the music worked for me very well. Like, I just loved it. After watching it for the third or fourth time, that music, tung tung tung, that just hit me, and I was listening to that very well, very often. Sorry, but so I also wanted to ask you, like, did the music impacted you for you?
Yeah, the music is one of those things that keeps playing in my mind every now and then. I see an image of Moneyball, or I think about it, or I see a poster of it. The tune immediately comes to my mind, which is what you just now also were doing. So I think, again, the music is such a perfect blend of nostalgia and this sort of almost sadness about the game, about sports, about art in general, that I just like. It's one of those things that where you really can't put a you really can't it offers something different every time you listen to it. And it's the same thing with a lot of other aspects of the film, because you see performances like Jonah Hill's, who's playing Peter Brand. You've not seen Jonah Hill in a performance like that. After this, he was starting to be taken seriously as an actor only after this film. because before this he was mainly in a lot of comedies. He was, sort of typecast as a certain kind of actor. But yeah, again, there was one of my favorite moments from the film is the one where on deadline day they make the phone calls and get the player they want, and with Jonah Hill actually like expressing his absolute joy when he's sort of clenching his fist, which was just beautifully done, because you can almost look at that entire that lovely little equation between them, and how both of them are feeding off each other in very different ways, because Brad Pitt's trying to convert Jonah Hill into a certain kind of person, and Jonah Hill is very subconsciously converting Brad Pitt into a believer of like how baseball, how baseball was sort of like drifting into a certain universe before they sort of brought it back. And the best part about the whole thing is that, of course, based on a real life story, and the Oakland A's actually did that, and they had this entire sabermetric approach that they got, and the Boston Red Sox took it and made it big after that, and they had the money to back it, which is why they actually then won the World Series. So
They
I
actually
feel like,
hired Bill James, I think, the guy who
yeah,
wrote
correct,
actually
the
The
guy who
Matrix.
wrote the, correct, yeah, and because, and the scene at the end of this film where they try to hire Billy Bean as the general manager for like a record sum and all that, that could have, again, that's such a beautifully that's such a lovely way to end his journey, him staying loyal to the team that he started this approach with, while the others take his approach and move forward and run with it. Because obviously we know that after that the big money teams actually went and used the sabermetric approach and had great success with it, and they started using it in different facets of life. But that's when we see why Brad Pitt was, why Billy Bean was actually a failure as an athlete himself, because he went with his gut as a teenager, when the scouts tried to put it in his parents' head that he was actually going to be a great. He went with his gut again in the end, and he obviously never won anything with the Oakland A's after that. And I love that the film is about a story that got lost in history somewhere, because always, as we know, the victors always make the headlines. The victors are what stories are made about, or what films are made about. Sometimes it's the losers too, but the Oakland A's was neither. They actually started a revolution, but weren't good enough to take it forward, which is why Moneyball is such a special film, because it gives you the subtext of history. It doesn't actually tell you that history is being made as we know it.
Yeah, actually, like for me too, even like I very much liked Brad Pitt as an actor too, and even as a producer. Like you didn't talk about that, but I actually liked him as a producer as well. Since we talked about The Big Short, which himself produced it, I like him because like he takes up those kind of films which are like which themselves are an underdog thing. And like I just like about his movie choosing, like movie making choices, and that's what makes him like such a great actor and a producer itself. So
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, you're right about Brad Pitt being the producer, and sort of he is actually a smart businessman. There's no doubt about it. Like we've seen it over the years, but like with him sort of backing his business ability with a performance to sort of really put him in the big league. I feel that's why Brad Pitt's acting career changed and started like a second innings, which culminated in an Oscar for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because before that, I don't think anyone in their right mind would have sort of really expected Brad Pitt to one day stand on stage and accept an Oscar. But that performance, this particular performance as Billy Bean, is the one that really has stuck in a lot of cinephiles' mind, in a lot of fans' minds. And same, I have massive respect for him after that, before that, because he was always in the news for his personal life before this film most of the time, because with Angelina Jolie, and he did a couple of good films, a couple of films that became like had a cult following later, but he was never the best part about any film. So here we actually have a Brad Pitt driven film, which combined with Bennett Miller, as we saw over the years, Bennett Miller can, get a stone to act also. But that's not to say Brad Pitt is a lesser actor. He was surrounded by some very fantastic actors in this film too, and all the people who played the players also in the film. We've seen them in bit roles over the years in other films too. But it's just that they somehow it's the minimum amount of sport you're going to see while watching a sport film, and that really is a clincher in so many ways, because it's the back room, it's what's happening in the offices and the general manager's offices and the corridors and in the dressing rooms that really make a sport. It's what happens in the field is only 5% of what actually goes into winning and losing, which I think this film captured, brilliantly.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Rahul, for coming to this to my podcast. I actually have to end this podcast. But I'm sure obviously your love for this film is very much beyond this podcast. I am sure about that. Also yeah and also for the viewers, please subscribe to my channel, and also please follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and other podcast service as well. So Rahul, see you soon. I feel
Yeah, thank you for having me, and hopefully we'll be discussing another film soon. And yeah, thanks for letting me talk about Moneyball. I can do it any time of day or night. So yeah,
wow. So goodbye. Yeah.
thanks.